Hello everyone and welcome to a new chapter, which is chapter 8 on Formulae. The first beginning chapter that we're going to look into would be formula construction. Based on the topic, based on the title, we know that we are about to construct or we're about to generate a formula. And this formula here has to contain a general numerical observation. A formula also connects two or more variables, alright? And there are times when you will notice some formula that will have a variable on its own, and this is known as the subject of the formula. An example we can give you would be speed, and on the right hand side you have noticed that the speed of light will be the distance travelled by the light over a period of time. Alright, so as in this case, it's not only just the speed, but it's also the subject, because on the left hand side we notice that the subject, which is the S letter, is only one of its own. It does not have two other variables like the distance or the time on the right hand side. Another example we can look into would be the volume of an ice cream cone. So looking back at some of the familiar formulas that you have seen so far, we know that the volume is 1/3 times pi radius square, and this pi radius square is the area of the circle which is at the base, so that's why we call it the base circle, and you multiply it by the height. So notice on the left hand side, the volume of the ice cream cone will be represented by the variable V, and this variable is not only just a variable for volume, but it's also the subject, because you only see one variable on the left hand side. Moving on to another example. If you were to construct a formula for the perimeter of the rectangle as shown on the right hand side, you notice that this rectangle, you remember that if it's a square, all sides will be equal. If it's a rectangle, the opposite sides would be equal. So in this case, we have the side on A, right, which has this straight vertical line, and opposite this line here we have another vertical line. That is to indicate that both sides are equal in terms of length. So if we know that perimeter is the total and the sum of the sides of a particular shape, we know from a formula we can generate that P is equivalent to A plus B plus A plus B. Alright, now if we were to collect all the like terms together and add it, you will get 2A plus 2B, and that is your perimeter. Now, not only just in maths, but in other cases you would also want to simplify it. So in this case, 2 is your common factor. So therefore your perimeter would be 2 bracket A plus B close bracket. In this case, we are removing a common factor of 2. Another example we can look into now, rather than just a general formula, is just by being given a statement, we will have to generate a particular formula on our own. So construct a formula for the amount $A, which we are not sure what it is, and again this is a variable, a standing on variable. In Mr. O's wallet, if initially he had $200 and he bought Y $5 presents, so Y here is the amount of presents that Mr. O has actually bought, and each present, which is Y, costs $5. So in this case, how are we going to generate our own formula? So we know that the amount would be our variable, because that's the total that we want to find out. Alright, and initially he had $200, so he would have $200 in his account, and when it's mentioned that he has bought presents, it means that you're going to subtract from the original 200. So let's construct. A is equivalent to 200 minus 5 times Y, which makes sense because we are looking into the amount that Mr. O has after he had spent 5 times Y amount of money, and you deduct it from the $200. Right, you can try some exercises from your textbook. Alright, page 155, questions 1 to 9. It's not a necessity for you to do all, but try to attempt those which you think are challenging. Thank you very much for listening.